11 angry PGA Tour professionals are reportedly preparing legal action to stop Brian Rolapp from taking full control of the organization's competitive future. This is no longer a disagreement solved by another player meeting and a carefully polished statement. It is a direct challenge to whether one executive can reshape schedules, status, access, and livelihoods without meaningful consent from the members affected. Apparently, golf's famous honor system ends the moment lawyers discover the first tee. What authority are the players challenging? Which part of Rolap's 2028 plan triggered the revolt? And could this legal strike freeze the PGA Tour's transformation before it begins? Subscribe as we examine the fight for control behind the Tour's public promises. Then decide, should Rolap possess final authority, or must players approve every change threatening their careers? The identities of all 11 reported challengers and the precise legal filing have not been publicly established through confirmed court documents. Legal action can also begin before a lawsuit through demand letters, preservation notices, internal appeals, requests for injunctions, or formal warnings delivered by counsel. That distinction matters. 11 golfers consulting attorneys is not the same as 11 plaintiffs filing a federal complaint. Yet organized legal preparation would still represent a major escalation because it replaces private frustration with a structured attempt to limit executive power. The conflict centers on Rolap's expanding authority. He became PGA Tour CEO after a long career directing media and business operations within the NFL. Tour boards later approved him to succeed Jay Monahan as commissioner, giving Rolap enormous influence over the competitive and commercial direction of professional golf. His headline reform begins in 2028 with the Championship Series and Challenger Series. The leading circuit is planned around top players competing across roughly 23 or 24 events, with stronger fields, traditional cuts, major championships, the players, and a redesigned postseason. The Challenger Series would operate alongside it, offering larger fields and a promotion route toward the top level. Rolap presents the system as meritocratic, easier for fans to understand, more valuable to sponsors, and better suited to a sports marketplace fighting for attention. Players examining the same plan may see something else, a permanent division between those protected inside premium golf and those forced to survive below it. Their concern is not simply which label appears beside a tournament, it is who controls entry, exemptions, relegation, promotion, schedules, and earning opportunities. But here is what Rolap cannot solve by repeating the word meritocracy. A fair pathway depends entirely on who writes the rules and who can change them later. If the executive office holds broad discretion, formal promotion criteria may provide little security. Sponsor exemptions could favor recognizable names. Injury protections could be applied unevenly. Major champions might receive lengthy status while ordinary winners face rapid relegation. Commercial exceptions could swallow competitive principles. That is why legal action would focus on governance before debating whether the new schedule looks entertaining. Players need to know whether existing membership agreements authorize leadership to redesign the tour so dramatically and whether required approval procedures were followed. The PGA Tour has an unusual structure. Its public identity has long emphasized membership and player involvement rather than conventional franchise ownership. Golfers are independent contractors competing for prize money, but they also operate within eligibility rules, disciplinary systems, and governance arrangements established by the tour. That combination creates tension. Executives need enough authority to negotiate television contracts, secure sponsorships, organize tournaments, and respond quickly to competition. Members need protection from decisions capable of ending careers or transferring opportunities toward more commercially attractive players. Rolap supporters will argue that the tour cannot be governed through hundreds of individual vetoes. Every significant reform would collapse into endless debate. Players naturally defend categories benefiting them, tournaments near their homes, and exemptions protecting their status. Strong leadership sometimes requires decisions stakeholders dislike. The old schedule was confusing, star participation was inconsistent, and too many events appeared interchangeable to casual viewers. Live Golf exposed those weaknesses by offering guaranteed stars, short windows, and a clearly different product. The tour responded with signature events, increased purses, player equity, and more concentrated competition. Those changes helped retain stars but also widened anxiety among members outside the elite group. Rolap inherited a system already moving towards separation. His 2028 model makes that separation clearer. Clarity can be healthy if pathways remain open. It becomes dangerous if the leading series evolves into a protected television club where ratings matter more than results. The 11 reported professionals may therefore be fighting for more than their own cards. Their legal challenge could ask whether today's executive can redefine membership value after players built careers around a different competitive promise. Consider a golfer who earned status believing strong play would provide access to a broad PGA Tour schedule. If restructuring moves valued tournaments into a separate series with new eligibility requirements, that player may argue the original bargain changed after years of investment. Both statements can be true. The tour needs flexibility, but flexibility is not unlimited authority. The legal question becomes whether this change fits within existing governance or crosses into a fundamental transformation requiring additional player approval. The reported revolt turns on one brutal issue. Are PGA Tour golfers genuine members with enforceable rights, or performers invited to accept whatever product executives decide to sell? That question haunted the tour during its battle with LIV Golf. 11 LIV players filed an antitrust lawsuit in 2022, challenging suspensions imposed after they joined the rival league. Although that litigation later ended, it demonstrated how quickly golf disputes can move from locker rooms into federal court. Possible claims might involve contracts, governance duties, association rules, procedural fairness, or antitrust concerns. Without an actual complaint, choosing one theory would be speculation. Still, the strategic purpose is obvious: create enough legal risk to force negotiations before implementation becomes irreversible. An injunction would be the strongest weapon. Players could seek a court order temporarily preventing specific changes while the dispute is reviewed. To succeed, they would generally need a credible legal claim and evidence that implementation could cause harm not easily repaired through money later. Loss of playing access might support that argument. A professional career is short. Missing premium tournaments can reduce prize earnings, ranking points, sponsor value, and future exemptions. Receiving damages years afterward cannot fully recreate opportunities lost during an athlete's competitive prime. The tour would resist aggressively. Delaying a 2028 system could disrupt sponsor contracts, broadcast planning, tournament agreements, and player communications. Executives would argue that uncertainty created by litigation harms the entire membership, not merely leadership. Rolap could also emphasize that the new structure was developed through the Future Competition Committee, chaired by Tiger Woods and approved through tour governance. That process weakens any claim that one executive secretly designed everything alone. Yet committee involvement does not automatically settle consent. Which players voted? What information did they receive? Were rank and file interests represented? Did approval cover broad concepts or every rule affecting status? Lawyers would examine minutes, bylaws, delegation documents, and communications. Discovery could become leadership's greatest fear. Litigation may require internal emails, financial projections, sponsor research, player surveys, and discussions about which stars the tour considers commercially essential. Public disclosure could reveal whether meritocracy guided the plan or merely decorated it. Here is the evidence battle that could decide everything. The players must prove Rolap is taking unauthorized control, while Rolap must prove the tour's own rules already gave leadership permission to act. Public opinion will divide before any judge rules. Fans frustrated with closed fields will support the 11 challengers. They will see professionals defending Monday qualifiers, emerging golfers, traditional tournaments, and the belief that anyone playing well enough deserves a chance. Others will accuse the group of protecting comfortable careers. Relegation creates consequences. Players sitting near the status line may prefer an unclear old system because it supplies more routes to survive. Legal language can make self-interest sound like constitutional principle. The challengers should therefore disclose their requested remedy. Are they trying to cancel the championship series entirely? Demand a membership vote? Expand promotion places? Limit exemptions? Preserve particular tournaments? Reduce the commissioner's unilateral authority? Stopping Rolap from full control sounds dramatic but lacks precision. No executive literally controls every tour decision. Boards, committees, sponsors, media partners, tournament organizations, and players influence the outcome. A credible challenge must identify a specific power being exercised improperly. The same precision is required from Rolap. He cannot dismiss every critic as afraid of change. Players deserve written answers about relegation numbers, promotion slots, injury exemptions, field access, disciplinary authority, and the process for amending rules after 2028. Otherwise, the system becomes a moving target. A pathway that looks fair initially could be narrowed once executives discover promoted golfers do not generate expected ratings. Members need safeguards preventing commercial convenience from rewriting qualification midway through a career. Independent oversight could resolve part of the conflict. A neutral eligibility panel might review contested exemptions, relegation decisions, and rule changes. Player representatives could hold approval rights over defined competitive matters while executives retain commercial authority. The NFL model cannot simply be copied. Football players belong to franchises and negotiate collectively through a union. PGA Tour golfers compete as individuals, manage personal schedules, pay their own teams, and qualify through results. Central control reaches them differently. That is why the legal challengers may demand stronger procedural rights. Notice before rule changes, transparent criteria, independent appeals, and player votes on fundamental restructuring would convert vague membership into practical protection. Rolap might accept some safeguards if they preserve operational flexibility. Negotiation is cheaper than litigation and less damaging than discovery. The tour could avoid an injunction while presenting compromise as proof that leadership listens. However, surrendering too much authority carries risk. Every future change could invite another legal threat. Sponsors might question whether the commissioner can deliver promised schedules. Media partners could hesitate if player groups can reopen approved structures repeatedly. The lawsuit threat therefore places Rolap inside a governance trap. Compromise may make him look weak, while refusing compromise could unite more players against him. The 11 professionals face their own trap. If they remain anonymous, critics will question their courage and motives. If they identify themselves, they may damage relationships with executives, sponsors, tournaments, and powerful players supporting the overhaul. Star support would change the balance immediately. Rory McIlroy has questioned parts of the tour's direction while also supporting stronger competition. Scottie Scheffler has enormous influence as the game's leading performer. Tiger Woods chairs the committee behind reform. If major champions join the revolt, Rolap faces a legitimacy crisis. If leading stars defend him, the 11 may appear isolated. The battle then becomes elite players against rank and file members, precisely the division the tour should avoid. Tournament sponsors could also intervene. Long-standing events may fear demotion into the Challenger Series or removal from the schedule. Their contracts, charitable networks, and community relationships provide additional pressure that player litigation alone cannot create. Rolap must demonstrate which tournaments survive and why. Secret evaluations based on ratings or sponsor value will invite accusations that executives are abandoning the tour's identity. Transparent standards would make difficult decisions more defensible. The Challenger Series also needs protection from humiliation. Minimum purses in traditional venues sound respectable, but players and sponsors must believe it offers genuine advancement. Calling something a pathway does not help if only a handful can pass through. Promotion should be broad enough to create movement. Relegation should be real enough to hold stars accountable. Injury provisions should be compassionate but narrow. Sponsor exemptions should not become hidden elevators for commercially favored players. Those principles could form the settlement. The 11 players pause legal action. Rolap publishes complete rules, expands player review, accepts independent appeals, and limits executive exceptions. Both sides claim they protected the tour. Settlement would not erase distrust. Players remember being blindsided by the 2023 framework agreement involving the Saudi Public Investment Fund. Many learned about it through media reports after defending the PGA Tour publicly against Live Golf. Building trust requires more than confident presentations. He must show documents, answer hostile questions, and accept limits. Leadership becomes credible when rules still apply during inconvenient moments, not when everyone agrees. The players must also avoid pretending the old tour was perfect. Weak events struggled for attention. Stars skipped tournaments. Eligibility categories confused fans. Media coverage moved slowly. Live demonstrated that professional golf could not depend forever on tradition and polite applause. Reform is necessary. The argument concerns who designs it, who benefits, and who possesses the power to correct mistakes. Legal action should improve those answers rather than freeze golf permanently in an outdated structure. And this is the rehook every member should consider. Stopping Rolap means nothing unless the 11 professionals can offer a better system for governing the tour afterward. They could propose shared authority. Executives control business operations. Elected players approve competitive access rules. Independent directors review conflicts. Major structural changes require supermajority support rather than a narrow board vote. Such governance may move slowly, but speed is not the only measure of effectiveness. A quickly approved system that produces years of lawsuits and rebellion is not efficient. It is merely fast at creating expensive problems. Rolap could answer with scheduled reviews, launch the 2028 structure under published rules, then require independent assessment after each season. Promotion rates, field strength, player earnings, sponsor performance, and fan engagement would be measured publicly. That approach treats reform as a test rather than a royal decree. Rolap retains leadership while members gain protection against permanent damage. The 11 challengers receive accountability without allowing every golfer to veto every decision. The smartest move is resolving governance before names appear on a courthouse docket. Golf already spent years fighting over lives, suspensions, antitrust law, and player freedom. Another lawsuit would consume money and attention while fans wait for the sport to discuss actual golf. Rolap's authority will ultimately depend on legitimacy, not job titles. A commissioner can win board votes and still lose the locker room. Players can win legal concessions and still damage the commercial engine funding their purses. So the final question is not whether 11 pros can stop Brian Rolapp. It is whether Rolap can lead effectively after 11 members decided only lawyers could make him listen. If Rolap refuses, the players may seek an injunction and force internal decisions into public court. Every email, projection, exemption, and private promise could become evidence in a fight over who owns the PGA Tour's future. 11 professionals have reportedly drawn the legal line. Rolap must now decide whether full control is worth risking the membership he is supposed to lead. Comment players if the 11 pros should continue, or Rolap if executives need freedom to reform the tour. Subscribe as we track the legal fight threatening golf's 2028 revolution. The PGA Tour survived Live Golf's attack from outside. Its next survival test may come from members who believe the greater threat is already sitting inside the commissioner's office.